Hey, what's ready? Welcome back to News Dose, and I'm still really hyped up about the state of play from yesterday and some of the announcements that they made. In my opinion, it was a great showcase, and it's really what I've been asking PlayStation for years now. And that's the thing, because some people think that I'm, a little too harsh on Sony sometimes, but that's not because I dislike them. It's really the polar opposite. It's because I like what Sony did during the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 generations. So my frustration from them comes from that I strongly feel that Sony has mismanaged the PlayStation brand this generation because of their shift to live service games. Now, thankfully, that wasn't their main focus yesterday, but it is something that I want to talk about today because some new information came in. And because of this, I really think Sony's live service strategy is just screwed by this point. So stick around and we're going to get into all of that, plus plenty more. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with Dino Crisis 1 and 2, and you might be wondering why we're talking about these games in the year of 2026, and well, that's because they just got a shadow drop on Steam, and they're also 50% off. So if you haven't played these games already, really now is the perfect time to jump in. These are very unique horror games, and okay, they're similar to Resident Evil, but how many horror games pit you against dinosaurs and actually does a good job at that? Yeah, not very many, so definitely go check them out on Steam. These are going to be excellent games to play on your Steam Deck. Unfortunately, though, I have heard whispers that the Steam version has DRM in place, so that's not exactly ideal, and if that is an issue for you, then keep in mind that they also released on GOG just last year. Oh, and Kingdom Come Deliverance finally announced its next-generation upgrade. This has been a rumor mill for a very long time, but they finally launched a new trailer, which you can see here. It includes up to 60 frames per second, ultra settings from the PC version, upscaled 4K resolution, more languages, and also save transfers. And here's the thing. This is actually a completely free upgrade if you already own the game. And that's pretty amazing, not only because Deliverance 2 has brought a lot of new fans to the series, but also because the first game never really particularly ran well on consoles. It was previously locked to 30 frames per second, and it's kind of hard to go back to some of those games after playing something in 60 frames per second. So if you've been waiting for a reason to jump into the series, really, this is a great time, and I actually believe it's on Game Pass as well. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that it is, so if you're a Game Pass subscriber, then really, you have no excuse not to jump into one of the most praised modern RPG franchises. Now, High on Life 2 also dropped today, which you might be surprised by that. With all the news this week, its launch has been a little bit quiet, but the first game turned out to be a massive hit, and that was even despite its middling reviews. It was very much one of those games where critics and fans just do not agree, and well, if anything, reviews for the sequel are now rolling out, and it currently has a 76 overall score on OpenCritic, and the reason that I'm using OpenCritic instead of Metacritic is because it doesn't have many reviews just yet, and each platform has a very different overall score. So OpenCritic here is actually very useful, and from what I've gathered, while it is a better game in a lot of ways with better gun mechanics, there does seem to be a common complaint about its technical issues. Even if you look on Steam, it currently has a 62% approval rate, with several people complaining about constant crashes. So it kind of sounds like it's coming in just a little bit hot, and for that reason, you might want to wait for an update. But other than that, it's what you might expect from High on Life. That Rick and Morty type of humor, and if that's something that you enjoy, then you'll probably like the sequel, as long as they get everything ironed out. All right, let's just go and talk about why I think Sony's live service strategy is absolutely screwed by this point. And honestly, I don't think this is necessarily a bad outcome for PlayStation gamers, because I think there is some good that can come from this. We'll come back to that here in just a moment, but what's happening here is that Highguard is the latest live service flop. Yeah, they just announced that they are laying off a lot of their studio. In a statement, they said, "Today we made an incredibly difficult decision to part ways with a number of our team members while keeping a core group of developers to continue innovating on and supporting the game. We're proud of the team, talent, and the product that we've created together. We're also grateful for players who gave the game a shot and those who continue to be a part of our community." And I mean, there it is. This is yet another live service flop that survived a grand total of, 2 weeks before they figured out, yeah, this isn't going to work out, and we need to scale back. I mean, you can point to its launch, which nearly peaked at 100,000 concurrent players on Steam. That seems like a good thing, but yeah, that number rapidly dropped off to the point that over the past 24 hours, it can't even surpass 3,000 players on Steam. So the signs are there. This game likely isn't going to last all that long, and that's the thing for me, because I think this is just more evidence, not only for why the live service model hasn't been working for a lot of studios, but also why Sony shouldn't have shifted most of their budget to live service games. You know, for years in this channel, I have called live service games mythical cash cows, because all of these companies, they see the money that you can make from them, but they rarely ever actually achieve that goal. You know, they copy a popular formula, thinking that they're going to be the next big thing. But the reality is, only a few live service games can be successful at one given time, because ultimately they're all competing for the same gamers' time. I mean, they're basically trying to take gamers from an already established game, let's hypothetically say Fortnite, and then they're trying to convince them why they should play their game instead. And that's a very difficult thing to do. It's why these games keep failing. In my opinion, unless you can truly do something original and excellent, then you're just another generic clone of an already successful game. And that's just not going to cut it. And unfortunately for Highguard, that's the category it fell into. It's yet another generic shooter that doesn't stand out. And this is the result of that. But that takes me to Sony's strategy, because there is a parallel between the reaction for Highguard and the live service games that Sony has revealed. You know, of course, Jeff Keighley revealed Highguard at the Game Awards, and quickly its YouTube trailer got ripped to absolute shreds with a barrage of negative reactions and dislikes. And okay, we can partially blame Jeff Keighley for that, but at the end of the day, if you look at Sony's live service games, you know, for games like Concord, Fair Games, Marathon, and the most recent 4Loop, you'll notice that the reaction for those games are not all that much different. If you look at their YouTube trailers, you're going to notice that they have been hit with a barrage of negative reactions and dislikes. It's almost as if PlayStation gamers are sending Sony a very clear message that they don't want these type of games. You know, they want Sony to go back and to prioritize single-player games first. And even last night's State of Play, I think, was a reminder of that. It was praised because of all of the great single-player reveals that they showed. I mean, very few people are talking about Marathon, Ghost of Yotei Hunters, and 4Loop. Yeah, they were all revealed there, but there's been crickets over those games. Meanwhile, gamers are going crazy over things like the God of War trilogy, the new Kena game, Castlevania, and the return of Metal Gear Solid 4. It's a night and day type of reaction. And that tells me that Sony truly is screwed when it comes to their live service strategy. I mean, I will be shocked if they come out of this generation with the mindset that live service is still the future of gaming, like they thought early on in the PlayStation 5 life cycle. Now, to be fair, this realization is actually a great thing for gamers. Unfortunately, the PlayStation 5's pipeline has suffered because of their strategy this generation, but maybe if they come to this realization, you know, the sooner the better, really. But as long as that message is delivered clearly, then the tail end for the PlayStation 5 and then the PlayStation 6 generation theoretically should be better. So while Sony's live service strategy, I think, is just absolutely screwed by this point, I think there is still a positive that will come from this, just because, yeah, it's going to push Sony back into the direction that gamers have been asking from them all along. Now, one more thing before we go, though, because we got an update for the Switch 2 and a couple of anticipated games that we haven't seen for some while now, and that is for Elden Ring and the Duskbloods. Supposedly, these games are set for 2026, but when they missed the Nintendo Partner Showcase, there has been a concern about if that's still the case. Well, apparently, there's nothing to worry about because according to a new financial report from Kadokawa, they claimed that both games are still on track for 2026. Now, to be fair, I don't think that Elden Ring is necessarily overly surprising. It's been long expected to come in early 2026, but with its reported poor performance, it may need some extra time. I don't expect that to be a full year, though, so 2026 seems to be right. But as for the Duskbloods, on the other hand, there really isn't much known about this game, so the fact that it got reconfirmed for 2026, I think is actually fantastic. As a FromSoft fan myself, it is one of my most anticipated games for 2026. I'm thinking a lot of people will probably say the same thing. Now, it is a multiplayer game, so there is some caution that comes with that. I don't know if it'll be as good as some of their other stuff, but I am optimistic, to say the least. I fully trust From Software. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.